Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Health Check. Health Check, where you have the opportunity to check in on you. Health Check is sponsored by Kingdom Health Connections, which is a health promotional resource center where it's all about cultivating the culture of health, wellness, and healing for you and the entire family. So come on in. Thank you for tuning in to Health Check. Let's share it with parents, with guardians as well, those who are caring for children. We want to share this broadcast because, as you can see, it's all about back to school health tips. And a key component to health in terms of the child's health is spiritual health. Did you know that a child having religious beliefs alone, so believing in God, having religious belief as a part of their spiritual health actually enhances their improvement in academia. It enhances their mental health. It enhances their attention span. They have greater confidence, greater self-esteem. Did you know that? Well, if you didn't know that, this is an opportunity to tune in and join us this morning. I'm so delighted this morning to be able to have a special guest. Her name is Maria Cameron. Those in the Apostles' House who are tuning in, you know her as Lay Pastor Maria. She has 23 years of experience as a social worker, working with families as well as children. She also has an immense amount of experience working with youth spiritually, helping them develop their relationship with God. And she's helped many youth do it, and some of them are adults now, and they are spiritually thriving. They have their own relationship with God. So we bless God for Maria Cameron this morning, and thank you so much for tuning in and joining me this morning.
Good morning, Dr. Vanessa. Thank you so much for having me. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm delighted to have you as we delve into this topic on spiritual health. I mean, you work in the community, you work with families, you work with children, you've dealt with crises in the family, in the community center, at a community. You've dealt with crisis, you've dealt with many different diverse situations. And we can all say that it is so important to have a relationship with God, but from your perspective, for your viewpoint, how important do you see that relationship with God in terms of helping families as well as children?
Well, first and foremost, I can say that by me having a personal relationship with God, it has helped me to do my job. Having a personal relationship with God has given me the wisdom, the understanding, the tools, the empathy, the direction that I need to engage with children and families. So I can just say, for me, I can see the benefit of having a personal relationship with God. And definitely, ideally, it would be wonderful if each family, took on the core belief that it is vital, it is essential that we have a relationship with God and train our kids in the same way as well.
Wow. Yes, I can imagine. What difference would you say it would make if they did have a relationship, even with your background, your experience in the community? what difference would you say that it would make in their lives? And
Well,
how would you see the differences?
yeah,
What would the
definitely.
differences look like? That's what I'm saying.
Okay. So it would definitely look different because having a personal relationship with God teaches you how to handle hardship, how to handle problems. It also helps with building your moral, your values, your beliefs. And so we would see a mass difference in how things are handled, and it would probably reduce the number of crises that we have because people have a relationship with God.
That is so true. I can only imagine that, families, the family unit in itself would just have a greater foundation, and just have a solid foundation in general, in terms of just, that morale is there to help them to know how to navigate through life, and, like you said, reduce the amount of crises in the community. So I mean, it's so important, it's so valuable for children to have that relationship with God. Now, say I'm a parent, I'm a guardian, I know how to have relationship with God. I myself have relationship with God, but I might have some difficulty connecting with my child in terms of helping them and teaching them to know God, without having like this belt over their head as, you need to know God, you need to know God, develop relationship with God. How would you, what advice, what tips can you give to parents in terms of helping them to help their child or teach their child to develop a relationship with God? How would you recommend they do that?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is it's important for parents to model the behavior that they want their child to also implement in their lives. When children see their parents praying, they then tend to want to copy. They may not understand everything that mom is saying to God, but then they create their own prayer. I think it's important for parents to prioritize spending time with their children and teaching them how to communicate with God. They're not going to communicate on the level that mom or dad or whoever the guardian is communicates with God, but just teaching them that this is how you build relationship. So just as you build relationship with your friend across the street by communicating, this is how you communicate with God. Just talk to him. Don't make it, difficult, complicated. Let's just start with the basics. Let's just learn how to just talk to God. Let's just learn how to tell God how we're feeling. We had a bad day. Let God know how you feel, but we have to, as parents, as adults who engage with children regularly, make the time, prioritize the time in spending, teaching our kids how to communicate with God, teaching them Bible stories, basic Bible stories, and having them relate it to their personal experiences that they may face in school. And, letting them know, even in school, you can pray to God. You don't have to kneel down, but even in your mind, you're having a rough day. God, help me to whatever it is, or you're being bullied. God, touch my friend who's bullying me, or whatever it is. But definitely, there's so many tools that we can use to help teach our children. But I think it's just important to get back to basics and prioritizing that this is important for my child to know, for them to have this tool, and making the time to teach them how to use the tool.
Absolutely. I think that's, like you said, it's so important. I think, we've had the privilege of knowing God as a child, our parents training us and teaching us. And it's helped us and it's kept us to this point. We know the scripture that says, train up a child in the way that they should go, so that when they're old, they don't depart from it. And though we might have parted and partied in other aspects, but we came right back.
Absolutely.
I just think of, the times when my mom, during our after a school day, at bedtime, reading a Bible story, and family devotions every weekend, and how that really helped me to learn God. It helped me to hear God, to know God. What did you think about the scripture? What do you think God is saying through the scripture? And to develop that relationship, and kind of like having that parental coach. Yes, that's God. Yep, that sounds like God. Yep, that's it. That's him. And just like what you said, modeling that behavior, is so important and it's so vital. And I think too, just being that encouraging voice to say, yes, this is God. Yep, you're experiencing God. You say you have goosebumps. That's God. That's His Spirit. And not fantasizing or not fantasizing. That's not the word. Mystifying God, where He's like the spooky person up there.
Right.
Anything you would want to say to that?
Yeah, I think that what you're saying is absolutely correct. And in addition to that, allow your kids to ask questions. Let them ask why. They're wise. And we may not have the answers, and I tell youth that I work with all the time, I was like, you can ask your questions. I'm here for you. I'm not saying that I know all the answers, but I'll definitely research and find the answer and bring it back to you. But allowing them to get their thoughts out on whatever it is that you're teaching them, and not like hammering over the head, like, you need to know God, you need to know God, but just allowing them to have their own experience and relationship with God is very important.
Yes, I think that's so key. Because,
Right.
as children, I know when we were growing up, it's like, why do we do this again? And
Right.
what does that have to do with God in the first place? Why does He want this from us? And like you said, making it a family affair. I think that's a good point too, as well. Like you mentioned, like, let's find the answers together. I might not have the answers, but let's find them together. I think that's
Right.
so good.
And I find that when the kids have understanding of why they're doing and what they're doing, then they're able to teach others. So you're building disciples, If they don't have an understanding, they may just do it because mommy or daddy's telling me to do it, but they're going to find something else. They're going to find another religion, or they're going to find something else that's spiritual that may not be the right thing for them, to engage in, that's giving them the answers that they're looking for. So again, like, I really feel that it's important that we as adults, as parents, that we prioritize spending time, having devotion with our children, teaching our kids, the tools that they need in order to build a relationship with God. As you talk about going back to school, I mean, how many parents we spend so much time making sure we have the right outfits, the right shoes, the right hairdo, nails done. We look good on the outside, and that's wonderful. And it's all, well and good. But what about the spiritual aspect of it? Those tools that your child or children will need when you're not present.
That's good. Looking good on the outside, but we need to look good on the inside too, as well. And just even knowing the correlation that academic scores go up, performance goes up, attention goes up. This was so good. And I think it draws to the health tip of the week, that we need to teach our children to have relationship with God, train them, teach them, coach them, reassure them. Yes, this is God. Because sometimes, because of the mystical presentation sometimes of God, our child may not think they're experiencing God, but they are.
Right.
And just creating that safe love environment for them to experience God, knowing God's voice, hearing God, experiencing God. And like you said, make disciples too as well, sharing God with their friends, bringing them into services and youth programs as well. So this was phenomenal today. Thank you so much, Maria. As we know you in the Apostles' House, lay Pastor Maria. Thank you so much for sharing these tips today. And like you had mentioned, these are the tools that the children will be able to have to help them succeed in life, not just in academia, but life too as well. Well, you heard it best here. Let's go ahead and put hashtag I choose life. We know what the scripture says. We've heard the information, we've heard the knowledge, but it's all about the application and the use, that putting this into practice, implementing and building this culture in our families. Go ahead and put hashtag I choose life and hold yourself accountable. How are you going to choose life? By incorporating this in the family setting. Well, as you know, we'll be here again. I'll be here again next week, Tuesday, 9 a.m. on Facebook Live, as well as YouTube. We'll be moving on to discuss other topics as well. But I encourage you, parents, today, and guardians as well, let's teach and train our children to have relationship with God. That's who's going to keep them throughout life. As always, I'll see you here again next week, Tuesday, 9 a.m. I pray that you all were blessed, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.